Truth be told, this episode was kind of boring. It's like awkward fights and like uncomfortable moments, and that's just too much for me. Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to another episode of a 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After. This is season 4, episode 3. Is this episode 3? Yeah, I think so. Okay. This is season 4, episode 3. Alright, you guys, don't forget that I have merch down below, so if you would like to purchase something from my store, go on ahead and check it out. But otherwise, let's jump right into this episode. So as I said last week, I am not going to be talking about Ashley and Jay, and as last week, we are just going to start with the most boring couples. So first, let's start with Pao and Russ. So this is the day of the baby shower, and Pao gets with her good Judy from Oklahoma, I can't remember her name, and they go get their nails done. Now, culturally, there is something happening that is going to cause a problem. One, it looks like Russ is from the type of family that when they do a baby shower, that the baby shower is in the middle of the day on Saturday and it's only for a couple of hours. And I don't think that Pao was expecting that kind of baby shower. It was not explained to her because I could understand her not understanding that and then being late. Now, should you be late for your own baby shower? No. But usually the woman is involved with the planning of the baby shower or it is planned by someone close to her. So if she is late or there is a complication, the person who's throwing the party is aware of what's going on. And I think the problem is that Russ's family threw a baby shower for her and they had their idea of how it was going to go down and just invited her to her baby shower. So it didn't for her feel like it was her baby shower. It's just something the family was throwing. So anyways, she's an hour late, maybe even more. And as soon as she gets there, people start to leave because in their mind, they've been waiting for her for an hour and she just like meanders in. So there's a lot of attitude from the guests and his parents and such. So she gets there, she gives her hugs to everybody, and then people start to leave, and then he leaves with his boys because they have a tea time. They're gonna go play golf, him and his dad and like I think his brother-in-law and whatnot. I thought it was really weird that the family chose to put the American flag. Like they had the Colombian flag and such all over the baby shower table. Theme was like soccer. And it was like Colombia, and then it was the US. Why did the cookies have the US flag on them? Like we're in the US. I don't know how to explain what I want to say, but I thought it was weird. Like, what's the point of putting the American flag on anything in that space? Like, we're in America. Like, we already know we're in America. Like, I mean, if you wanted to honor her and put, like, Colombian flag, that's cute. And I think, I don't know, girl, it's fine, whatever. I don't fault either party. I feel like they just had different interpretations of what a baby shower is. And Pao ends up saying that she didn't understand that being an hour late was going to be as impactful as it was. She starts opening presents. She doesn't know what some of the stuff is. And then people leave. And his mother has a little bit of an attitude and makes a comment when she hugs her when she first gets there. And it's just like, oh, it wouldn't be Pao if you weren't late. And I was just like, that's a good way to start it off. Like, I mean, I get you're frustrated, but like, I don't know. I think that was Russ's business. He should have really explained to her like how it was going to go down, but that's neither here nor there. So that's it for them. All right, so the next couple that we're going to talk about is Nicole and Azan. So in this one, we start off where they are on their way to May's birthday party. They are having her birthday party at a restaurant. And so Nicole goes and she meets her brother, her father, and her mother, and various other family members. Her father has a literal goat tea. Like he looks like Billy Goat's gruff. Meh, like a goat. It's literally a goat. He looks like a goat. That's what I'm trying to say. Robalee's there and they start to ask her these hard questions, which, of course she doesn't want to answer. I'm like, girl, you are being filmed for a show and you are meeting with your family and they're going to ask you questions because that's what the producers have told them to do. So just answer the questions. Thomas asks it first and he's like, so why'd you come back? Nicole says because they didn't end up getting married and her 90-day tourist visa ran out, so she had to come home. Someone asks, are you planning on going back? And she's like, yeah. And they're like, well, thank God that you came back in time for May's birthday because we would have really missed that. And she was like, yeah, we like spending time with you guys. And then someone else asks, why didn't you get married? And she's like, well, we didn't get married because we decided that for as little time as we had to plan it and the amount of money, we decided that we were just not going to do it at this time. This is not the first time that Azan and Nicole have decided not to get married. It's actually the second time. And her dad brings up the fact that he still has, you know, airplane tickets because he bought the tickets to go to Morocco. And before anyone can get on a plane, after everyone had already purchased their tickets, Nicole and Azan announced that they weren't getting married. So it's kind of like a cycle of nothing. That's what Robert Lee says. Like, it just feels like they keep saying they're going to do this thing and then they don't do it. Nicole is starting to get frustrated because people are asking her valid questions and she doesn't have answers to the valid questions. And then Robert Lee says, what assurances are we going to have that he's going to marry you this third time? And she's like, I don't understand what you mean assurance. You don't need any assurance. We didn't get married because we decided that it was not the right time to get married. And Robert Lee's just like, okay. And the dad is like, well, I would like to meet him. I mean, I didn't get a chance to meet him. And she's like, well, we're going to Grenada, so maybe you will get a chance to meet him. And he's like, great, I still have those tickets because I didn't go to Morocco, so we can change them over to Grenada. And she's like, oh yeah, that would be fine. Like, so smug. Like, girl, you don't want your family to meet Azan. You feel like what choices that you two make are the choices that you two make. And it's like, it would be that way if your family wasn't all involved in the whole situation. Like, you had to ask your dad to sponsor Azan because you didn't have it. You probably ask your mom for money and all kinds of stuff in order to go back and forth to Morocco or deal with like your phone bill from what you're always FaceTiming him. So like, your family is very much involved and they're involved with helping you take care of May. So they are involved in your life. If you were completely independent, I could kind of see you being frustrated that they're in your business, but also they care about May and you're not making the best decisions for May. So that's where that comes in. And I understand where the family is coming from. Because Robert Lee is like, well, he ditched out on this wedding. And she's like, he didn't ditch out on anything. She's just so much about defending Azan and their choices when the choices really aren't there. We were there in Morocco. We saw it. The choice wasn't hers to not get married. She really wanted to get married and she knew she would have to deal with the fallout of it because they didn't get married. Well, speaking of Grenada, the question comes up of, well, how do you know Azan is going to be able to get into Grenada because he wasn't able to get into South Korea? And she's just like, well, I mean, we don't know, but I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. And her dad's like, okay, so other Moroccans have been able to go to Grenada? And she's just like, yeah. Like she even did research on that. She didn't do research on it. They didn't do research on South Korea and then he got, you know, denied entry and they don't know why he got denied entry. And I guess Azan and Nicole, or really Nicole, is just willing to lose money seeing if they can go to Grenada. Some of you guys that are from Grenada were like, I'm just so annoyed that she's planning on coming to my country. And I'm like, that's so funny. Also, I'm now saying Grenada right. Shout out to those of you who corrected my pronunciation of the island of Grenada. Okay, so the next thing we have with them is that she goes grocery shopping to buy more vegetables and fruit so that she can lose weight for Azan. They have to show this moment of her with May, picking out different fruits and getting like one apple, you know what I'm saying, like a bunch of bananas. And I'm just like, okay. She's like, it's really important for Azan that I lose weight and be healthy, so I'm really working on that, and I think that by the time I get to Grenada, then it'll be a different situation. And I'm like, you gotta add exercise in there too, Nicole, because curbing your appetite is harder than what it sounds like. Just eating fruits and vegetables isn't necessarily gonna have you shredding the pounds. But I wish her all the best on this, because it's really hard. Oh, she also throws something at Robert Lee, because Robert Lee's like, look, you're gonna be in front of your family, we're gonna ask you the hard questions, so you're gonna have to like grin and bear it and suck it up, Buttercup. And then Nicole like throws something at her. And I feel like she wanted to throw it at her face, but at the last minute she thought, oh, I'm on camera, I shouldn't throw it at my mom, so I'm just gonna like throw it on the table towards her. So while they're in the grocery store, Nicole is wearing the craziest outfit. She's got on two separate patterns that don't make any sense. I peeped that, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but I was like, why are you wearing skull and crossbone leggings and like a flower shirt? Weird, but okay. She has the conversation with Azan in the grocery store, and she tells him that her dad would like to meet him and that he's coming to Grenada. And Azan is like, well, you know, I don't want to meet him, but I know I have to. And I'm just like, you have to. You guys are joining families. Your love or whatever is not in a vacuum. What? You're gonna have to meet her father. You're choosing to marry this person from across the world and you caused all this grief and drama, and now you're saying you don't want to meet the dad? Azan, you need to suck it up, Buttercup, too. Nicole tells him about May's birthday party and how her family was asking him all kinds of questions. So Nicole tells Azan about May's birthday party and how her family was grilling her and how uncomfortable that was for her. And she's like, my family doesn't want to focus on the good things. They only want to focus on the bad things. And I'm like, what are the good things? If we knew what the good things are, then maybe we could be more supportive. Like, I'm in her family. I'm not in her family. But you know what I'm saying. Girl, what do you mean? There's only bad from what I could tell. You know, we're happy, but we have fights like any other couple. I'm like, you guys are not happy And maybe if you are happy, it's because you're not in the same place. Do you not remember pushing him and dragging him up the stairs in Morocco? We do. Also, she says in like a voiceover that she's found temp work. I don't believe that Nicole has found work. Unless she just did what I suggested and went to the mall and got an application and filled out retail applications, or like went online and applied to a bunch of places. But like, I don't believe her. So the next couple that we're going to talk about is Andrei and Elizabeth. So we start off this with Elizabeth going to meet her dad at a coffee shop and kind of talk about what's been going on. She says her dad's kind of had an attitude lately and she doesn't know why, so she wants to just have like a heart-to-heart with him. So they go and they meet up, and we now see what's really going on. So here's my interpretation of the conversation between Elizabeth and her father. Elizabeth wants a certain lifestyle and she can't lead that lifestyle. And since she's the youngest and her father has kind of been doing everything for her and people have been doing everything for her, she has like a baseline of necessity. And that baseline of necessities is a little bit above what other people would be able to get from their family / parents, right? She's a princess, right? So she's used to a certain standard of living. And if she can't give herself that standard of living, then she feels like her parents or her family should be able to help her maintain that standard of living. Now, the father has an issue with it because she's married. If she wasn't married, I think that her father would probably continue to allow her to have this standard of living that she's used to, i.e. giving her a job, helping her pay for her apartment and her car and everything so that she can live a certain lifestyle, right? But the fact is that she went to another country, found a man, got married, and like made all these choices without her parents being like 100% involved in it. And now she's still expecting that kind of treatment from them. She's still expecting them to support her in the same manner that they did when she was single. And the father has a problem with that. He feels like, you got married to this person that we don't necessarily agree with, and then now you still want me to pay for now both of your lifestyles. And like, honestly, you needed to make a better choice, and Andrei isn't going to give you the lifestyle, and I don't feel comfortable allowing him to take over. And she also doesn't feel comfortable with allowing Andrei to take over because she still is asking her father for stuff. The father is now allowing them to stay in a house that I guess he usually has rented out. And she came to him and asked him if they could move into that house because they have dogs and the apartment is small. And now that they're pregnant, they're going to need more room. And then also that they can't pay rent. So if they could live there for free. So now the father, this house is probably something that he's used to having income from. And now he's losing out on income from renting this house out because he's allowed Elizabeth to live there. And I guess one of the stipulations was like, yes, we'll let you live here, but you need to take care of the house as though it's your home. And I guess the father drove by one day and saw that the lawn was hadn't been mowed, and like he just didn't feel like they were keeping up with the house. Now, Elizabeth is sitting there with a big attitude, girl, because she's like, it was the summer, the grass grew, and we didn't have money to get it fixed. We didn't have money to mow the lawn. And the dad's like, you don't have $150 to buy a lawnmower so that he can mow the lawn? And she's like, no, not if it means not having groceries. And that's how I know that Elizabeth is expecting her father to keep her in a certain lifestyle until her husband can. And he's like, if you wanted me to keep you in a lifestyle, you should have either A, married somebody that I wholly approved of, or B, not married somebody who couldn't keep you in that lifestyle, because now I'm gonna have to. At this time, I completely understand where the dad is coming from, but I also understand Elizabeth's point of view because they've allowed her to behave like this. There are privileges in my life that I have that when I find that they aren't being met, I'm a little bit like, ugh. Well, there are expectations that children have from their parents based on the life that they have been allowed to live. And when the parents try to take back those privileges, the person usually gets upset because in their mind, the baseline is this. This is what you set me up as, and now you don't want to help me maintain that, and I don't understand. So I see it from Elizabeth's point of view, but I really more so see it from her parents' point of view, and I think they just need to take her off the tit. So anyway, she comes back home after this, and she has this conversation, and she talks to Andrei about it, and she's like, my dad is acting like we don't take care of the house, and then he said that we're not grateful that they gave us this house, and you were right, they are hanging this thing over our heads. Andrei's like, I told you, and so from here on out, we're moving, and I don't want anything from your family. And so I was like, this is what needed to happen from the beginning, and maybe Andrei said this to Elizabeth, but Elizabeth was like, no, my dad will just pay for it, it's fine. We're not gonna suffer because my dad is upset. They should just handle it until we can. And Andrei has the right idea. If they don't want the dad complaining about the house, if they don't want the parents complaining about anything, they need to get off the tit. I think Andrei is right. And she's like getting frustrated and is like rolling her eyes because she's like, Andrei, I'm not gonna be poor with you. We're just gonna have to like ride the line and try to get my family to respect our privacy at the same time we're taking money from them. That's what we have to do. They need to understand that they're wrong. And Andrei's like, no, we need to get off the teat and we need to manage it on our own so that they for sure can't say anything to us. So they're having like a little bit of a difference of understanding of how they should manage this. And I'm on Andrei's side. I think that he's correct, that they just need to like get out of it. So that's basically the end of them. Now let's move on to the next couple. Let's talk about Pedro and Chantel. Okay, so in this episode, it really heats up. If they hadn't already announced the Chantel family, then I would think that these two were on their way to getting a divorce. So they have a double date with Chantel's friend, this woman who, I don't know, I guess they met through mutual friends, who is also married to a Dominican man, so they can like just talk about the similarities and things that are going on in their relationship. So they're at Korean barbecue and Chantel and Pedro both show their butts, okay? I think that she antagonized this situation. I think the reason why they looked stupid and started fighting in front of her friends is because she kept trying to prove to them how wrong Pedro is. Chantel's wearing a really cute outfit. That's what I did. Her outfit for this double date is real cute. And so while they're on their way there, Pedro's like, oh, you just want to hang out with this person so that you can talk about how terrible your husband is. And she's like, no, you know, we could learn a lot from them. So she's wearing a really cute outfit. They get there, they sit down, and Cassie, who is the woman friend, she says, you know, Pedro, how many times have you been back to DR? And that's when Chantel sets in. Chantel is like, well, speaking of that, funny thing you should bring that up, Pedro wants to go to the Dominican Republic without me. And the husband says, well, I've been back to the Dominican Republic 3 times, and it's fine. And she's like, well, would you say that I couldn't go even though I want to go? Like, I want to go back with Pedro. And Cassie was like, well, yeah, he has gone by himself sometimes. Well, Pedro, how long did you want to go? And Pedro's like, well, I want to go there for a month or a month and a half. And that's when they're all like, oh, well, that's a long time. Well, I mean, I understand you want to be with your family, but can Chantel come for maybe a long weekend? And then Pedro's like, well, you know, her and my family don't get along. So in order to keep the peace, it would be more peaceful if she didn't come with me. Cassie starts to say, well, you know, being there for a month and a half is a lot because you're going to spend a lot of money because people are going to be asking you for things. And then they like kind of have a little back and forth about what it's like going back to the Dominican Republic and people asking you about your shoes and clothes and like wanting you to buy stuff because they think you're a rich American all of a sudden. And I was like, that is so true. When I went to Belize, that happened to me and I wasn't expecting it. Like I wasn't expecting to get there and have people ask me like for my earrings or people ask me for my dress I was wearing. I'm like, whatever, right? So that is something that happens. This is why I understand the pressure that Pedro is under in order to send money back, because it's very real. They think you come to America, they think you have all this money and that you have a lot of extra money to be able to give your items or send money down there. And right now Pedro was on that, and Chantel was saying that the other guy, I can't remember his name, let's call him Ricky for this. Cassie and Ricky, let's say that's their name. There's a voiceover saying that Ricky used to send a lot of money, but then he realized that at some point he couldn't because they were having a family in the US. And so Chantel's like, yeah, you know, when we have a family, and Pedro's like, you said you didn't want to have a family with me. And she's like, I didn't say that. So they start again with arguing about like past things. It gets to the point to where it's so awkward. They're arguing in front of Cassie and Ricky. And I feel like it's because Chantel is trying to embarrass Pedro into behaving a certain way. I mean, they're both at fault for taking the argument as far because they're both trying to prove their point to this couple, to get the couple to be on either one side or to mediate, and it's just not going to work because they're both not listening to each other. Chantel says, well, you don't get along with my family, you didn't come to Thanksgiving, and then Cassie's like, you know, stirring the pot. She's like, well, why didn't you go to Thanksgiving, Pedro? I'm like, girl, Cassie, opening up a can of worms. So then Chantel starts to talk about kicking the table and fighting her brother, and is he going to behave like that now? Is he going to get up and kick the Korean food off the table? I'm just like, oh, girl, you're just making it worse. And then Cassie's like, well, they called last call a couple of minutes ago and we got to get home to that babysitter, so let's go. They're in a bad place, Chantel and Pedro. They are arguing all the time. And then Pedro says, because of his translation of this idiom, fuck off, he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go to Republic. I need my time. I need my space. I want to be with my family. I want to be people who love me and who are on my side, because Chantel thinks that she's perfect and that I'm solely to blame and I can't win in this situation. So I just want to be around people who love me. So I'm just gonna fuck off to the Dominican Republic. And she's like, what? You're just gonna fuck off? Well then fine then. Fuck off. And I'm just like, oh my God, she's so hurt. It's like she's so hurt. She's feeling a lot of emotions. She wants to go to the Dominican Republic with him, but she doesn't respect his family and called his sister names, and then is mad at him because he has problems with her brother, but she has problems with his sister. It's just insane. So he's like, yeah, it's an expression. Fuck off means disappear. I want to disappear. I want to fuck off. And it's like, it doesn't mean that when you say it about yourself. It means something a little different. So then there's a scene where Pedro talks with his sister and announces that he's coming to the DR and that Chantel isn't coming. And then he tells his sister that Chantel doesn't want to have kids with him. The sister, it says the same thing I say. Like, what does your family's not getting along have anything to do with you two having a kid? At the last scene, they go to a lawyer, Chantel and Pedro. They go to the immigration lawyer because Pedro has questions about his 10-year green card and if he can have businesses in the Dominican Republic. For some reason, he thinks that if he has his green card for the US, then he wouldn't be able to have like a business in the DR. And the immigration lawyer assures him that no, you would be able to have a business in the DR and come back and forth to the US. She also says that right now the green card that he has conditions on it, and so he would need to apply for removal of those conditions for his green card so he can apply for his like permanent green card or his 10-year green card. Chantel is confused why he's asking about businesses, and she's like, well, you're not gonna have time to do a business because you have a family here. So realistically speaking, like, why are you even asking this question? And he's like, because we're here to ask questions. And like, you said you didn't want to have a family with me, so who knows if we're gonna have a family? And she's like, I didn't say that. I said I didn't want to bring a child into turmoil. Meanwhile, this lawyer is like, the lawyer is feeling so uncomfortable at these two bicker about this green card situation. And then he asks if and when he gets it and they get a divorce, like, is he gonna lose the green card? And the lawyer says, no, your green card status has nothing to do with whether or not you get a divorce. And she's like, why are you even asking that? Again, Chantel is feeling some type of way because he's brought up the D word and asked about this green card. So now she's starting to feel like that he's trying to like get everything in order before he announces that he wants to get out of the marriage. And then she's like, well, I have questions too then. So she asks her question, and her question is, if and when they get a divorce, would she still be responsible for him? And the immigration lawyer is like, yeah. And she's like, well, what if we had a prenup? And she's like, that prenup has nothing to do with you still being responsible for him. That conversation has nothing to do with you guys getting divorced. Like, that is you allowing him to come to the US. You signed documentation saying that you'd be his sponsor and be responsible for 10 years. I want to know how Chantel had enough money to be able to sponsor Pedro. Did her family do it? Is this whole thing a setup from the very jump? Is their whole storyline fake, fakey fake? Who paid for all those fees and everything? Because Molly and Ashley and all these women talk about how expensive it is when they bring these guys to the US. Chantel and Pedro seemingly don't have any issues. So I'm wondering who paid for him to come here. And she's like, I just want to say for the record that I think it's dumb that the American who brings the person here on the K-1 visa is responsible for that person for 10 years. I'm like, yeah, you think it's dumb, but you signed up for it. So it is what it is. Those are the rules. Anyways, that's where my DVR cut off for them. So I don't know what ended up happening, but I know that Chantel was very upset about it. And here's the deal. Pedro makes a very valid point. He says that there have been times and arguments where the topic of him going back to the DR because of their divorce or because they no longer want to be together is hung over his head. That's how he feels. And so having this conversation with the lawyer allowed him to be like, okay, if I get the 10-year, regardless of what happens between Chantel and I'm not gonna get deported. Right now, he feels like Chantel has all the control, and if she wanted to get him deported or send him back or whatever, then he would have to go back home if things didn't work out between them. He and her can go their separate ways and he can be free and there's not going to be any trouble. The only issue for her is that she would be financially responsible for him for 10 years if anything happens. But I don't think that Pedro is the kind of guy who would just be like a bum and not work and then have his ex-wife pay for things. Very interesting. All right, you guys, did I talk about Larissa and Colty? I didn't. The last couple that we're gonna talk about is Larissa and Colty. I'm gonna keep this really brief. Bottom line is, they go to the courthouse, Debbie drives her, Larissa feels comforted by Debbie being there. Debbie pulls back her original idea of wanting Larissa to get deported and says, look, if she gets deported, Colt might leave and go, and I don't want him to go. So they go to the court, and they're standing in front of the courthouse waiting for Adam, the lawyer, and then Adam comes and starts to give them a rundown of everything that's going on, and Larissa's like, girl, I didn't understand half of what Adam was saying, so I know she for sure didn't. And so they go inside and the case gets dismissed. The lawyer says that there is a slight contingency that they could re-pull up the case, but usually they don't. So it'll be fine. And they call Colt and tell Colt. Colt says that he's excited even though he doesn't sound excited on the phone. And Larissa is just all smiles. So they get back to the house and Larissa is like washing the dishes or whatever when she got that crazy side ponytail. Colt comes in and says that he's really happy about the outcome. They have a civil conversation. The first civil conversation I've seen them have on television this entire time, and she tells him that she's sorry and apologizing, that she knows she's not perfect. He accepts her apology. He actually brought her flowers and said that, you know, since I didn't bring you flowers at the airport, here are your flowers now. And I thought that was a really nice sentiment. I'm like, thank God, do something sweet for her. They drink champagne out of a wine goblet and like a regular tumbler in the kitchen, and they say, let's start a new beginning and let's move on from here. He says that he's really relieved that he finally got his wife back. I'm like, yeah, so you called the police on this wife that you are glad to have back. That is where that couple stands. Nothing too exciting to report. All right, you guys, so that's the end of this recap. Thank you so much for watching. Let's have a conversation to Kiki down in the comments section. This episode wasn't that exciting, but you know, we got through it. All right, you guys, have a fantastic day, and remember to be you, be true, and find your place. Bye.